Hello and welcome, as always, to the LJL officially unofficial stream, where we will be covering the first few games? Four games of the LJL. I am your host, Master One, otherwise known as Lexi or Alex. I, of course, am joined by my co-hosts and my play-by-play and color commentators, Nymera and Initialize. Please, as I say always, introduce yourselves.
You can go first this time.
Yeah, I was about to say, I never got to go first. Hi guys, I'm Alex, Nymera Hapgood. I'm the color commentator here. I'm really looking forward to bringing some League of Legends commentary.
Yeah, and I'm this one's older brother. I'm Sam Initialize Hapgood, and we're really excited to be here today. It'll be the first few games of the season, and there's some killer matchups. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. So our first game that we will be getting into shortly, relatively speaking, is going to be that incredible series, which is going to be DFM versus V3. Now, we've seen these guys battle it out a bunch, but there's been a few changes that we talked about on our podcast. But let's think about that. What is your key matchup, I think, going into this game for both of you guys?
Key matchup is probably got to be jungle, I think. So just a bit of context, V3 versus DFM was the finals matchup of last split. It went 3-1 the way of DFM. It was pretty back and forth, but DFM confidently closed out that series. V3 then changed everyone but their solo lanes. So they brought in a guy called Boogie, who played for Flash Wolves as the jungler. And they brought in some new bot lane people, which I'll let you guys talk about. But Boogie versus Steel is the matchup which I'm really looking at.
Okay.
I would probably, in a similar vein, but I'm going to go look at the top lane in that we've got two of the best top laners available in the LJL as of last year. Ebby for DFM, who's been a monster in the top lane for years, and on the other side is kind of the pretender to the throne, so to speak. It's Paz. And I think that jungle top 2v2 is going to be super important. Steel and Ebby versus Boogie and Paz is going to be a killer to watch. I think that particular matchup is something we'll need to keep an eye on. I expect there to be fireworks.
Okay. In my opinion, I'm about the bot lane.
What? Really? Okay, explain this one to me.
Well, I'm really interested to see what happens with Archer and Reyna now. Against, like, this is the proven best of the best in the world, but well, for the LJL at least. Well, and then I'll bring it back. But like,
LCK streaming right now, but we don't care about that.
No. Who cares? We've got Yutapong and Gang, obviously, returning again for DFM. There has been no change for this team. I'm super interested as a support main, obviously. Bit biased, obviously, but I really want to see what Reyna and Archer. I feel like they have a huge impact on the game, but you could discount them for the beginning part of the match.
So for me, because these guys are new coming in, it's a new pairing versus the most storied duo lane in the LJL right now. It's going to be a tough ask for them to really perform in lane and team fights, all the other stuff. I think it's going to go the way of DFM in that part of the map, to be honest.
I mean, let's be real, that is a horrific debut for the LJL.
It's
like,
harsh.
you come in bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and your first matchup is sort of like the gods of the LJL. The guy sat on the throne, you're sort of there with your little wooden sword, like, yeah, we can beat you, and they've got an infinity edge there in front of them. It's like, okay, well, I guess this is what you're going to learn to deal with, but I mean, if you're going to make an impact, what better way to do it than versus that team, that bot lane?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And then following them, we will then have V3 versus Axis. This I think is going to be a fun match, but I've already got my own bets hedged personally. I want to get your opinion on both of yours about that matchup that we'll see.
V3 versus Axis.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys didn't watch the podcast, and this is a shameless plug now, go watch it. We've
done it twice now.
we did some power rankings.
We
looked at each of the teams in our opinion. And obviously a lot of this won't come to fruition until we see them all play a lot of different teams. But for us, Axis is definitely in the lower bracket, perhaps even the very last team in the rankings. So for me, V3 is going to take it, although I don't think V3 are particularly high up in the standings themselves, so it could be a close match.
I personally had V3 a little higher in my power rankings, but mainly because I have faith in Boogie and Paz to get work done in the mid game and get work done in those early games with some decent jungle attention.
That is a half decent few to like go. I think though they can do okay. I mean, Boogie. I think the man can play some League of Legends. Let's be real here.
Yes, that's fair.
But for me, I really just want to focus on what's in front of me right now, this first game, because this is one team which hasn't changed their roster and has shown to be successful.
DFM we're talking
DFM,
about,
yeah.
yes.
And then we've got V3 who have changed a lot, but they made the finals last split. Let's see if they think that they've done an upgrade or a downgrade. We obviously aren't too hyped up on them. I want to see them prove us wrong.
Absolutely. Following the V3 Axis matchup, we will get Axis again against Burning Core. And then not long after them, we will then get to see DFM again in action against Burning Core. So we've got some really exciting games to actually come up over the next few hours, which we will be casting, giving our comments and everything else. The latest games that will be also streamed today on the official stream will be Crest Gaming versus Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming.
Yes!
You said it right.
We then have the Fukuoka SoftBank Gaming Hawks versus Sengoku Gaming, Sengoku versus Rascal Jester, and Rascal Jester again versus Crest Gaming Act back in the mix again. We'll be streaming those games later over another day, but obviously if you're catching this via the VOD, you'll be able to catch that whenever you want, because they probably will already be there most of the time.
Time travel.
It's an amazing thing. But obviously, let's get focused. Let's really get hyped. We'll get hyped, man. DFM returning. They're claiming they won it. They're the MSI back-to-back players. They are the world's back-to-back competitors. This is the LJL's team. Like this, we need to really amp up. This is the team to beat.
They're coming back really hungry. They came back having taken a game off Splice, but not making it to groups. And it took them a little while to play their way in Worlds. And when they finally did, they made some teams sweat a little. And I think they're going to want to come into this year and clean house and look towards MSI, look towards Worlds. LJL only gets the one spot. And DFM are not in any mood to let go of it. I'm really excited to see them. I think they're still probably the best players in the league with the best synergy, and they've picked up the coach on air, who is this guy is one of the most storied coaches in league history. He worked with Azubu Frost and Blaze. He worked with CJ Enters. He's worked with Hanwha Life. Like, there is some serious storied history with this guy. He was working with some of the OG best in the world teams.
Right.
So, like, he's over in the LJL now. Clearly, that's probably not necessarily where he would have wanted to be. I'm sure he would have liked to stay in the LCK. But frankly, DFM are not going to complain. They've picked up an incredible talent in their coach. And I'm hoping he can push them into some new heights.
Yeah, for sure, because we've seen that this DFM roster has talent. They have a lot of very different picks. We look at if you look back to Siros's match history and the champions he's playing, he plays champions which no one else does. You look at some of the other players across their team, they are putting up ridiculous numbers. They have had like 10 KDA in the playoffs. Guying had a 13.67 KDA in the finals. He absolutely just rolled over those games. He played so well. He was our player of the game in that finals series, and I really, really want to see his Thresh back today.
Oh, and Thresh is good. Thresh is good in my eyes right now.
A pretty okay champion right now. Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's for every meta that Thresh is not a viable pick, he will be in the one after. He is just that support champion that every support kind of needs to know how to play or wants to know how to play, right?
Here I was thinking it was Janna.
Yeah, no, that's fair. There's a simplicity there. I think there's fair to say Thresh has got the style points, which I do think that people look for.
And he does have a good Thresh.
That's true.
Exactly. I mean, we as you did point out earlier, I believe, Alex, you talked about the jungle being the place to watch. Yep. Obviously, I think the champions that we're expecting to see heavily here are Gragas and J4, as they are total LJL-esque champions, especially in that jungle. Support junglers, which have an impact, but they also can do ganks very efficiently, pre-6. It's just... who do you think they're going to fight over? Do you think bans are going to be happening? Do you think just crazy stuff might go on?
So I'm kind of interested specifically with Boogie's champion pool, and that he is coming from a very different region. And I will say that, like, this is the region that birthed Karsa, right? Boogie is ex-LMS. He went to Worlds and made a real impact. And I half wonder whether we have seen a lot of priority in other leagues around the likes of Lee Sin and Elise. And I wonder whether Boogie might be looking to pick some of those up, especially if he is looking to work around someone like Paz, like I've kind of alluded to and expect him to be working with. So if he is, then I wouldn't be surprised to see some seriously early game level 3 junglers like the likes of an Elise, maybe even Olaf, alongside those perennial Gragas, J4 games.
Well, I, for one, really hope we don't see Olaf Soraka again.
Oh, no, I saw that yesterday. It was utterly vile.
I don't trust a lot of these junglers within Olaf, but if it's going to be one of them, it's going to be Boogie or Steel. I really like these guys as junglers.
True.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Oh god, I really don't want to see Soraka again. I don't want a repeat of the G2 game that was happening yesterday in the LEC. Yeah.
LEC.
We also saw in the LCK yesterday, we did see that horrific combination of Soraka and then Yumi on the Olaf. It was utterly disgusting.
Hyper carry Olaf, where it makes no sense, because in my eyes, I'm like, if you're gonna do it on anybody, just fully commit and go for the Yi, right? Just go all in.
Okay, no. I'm not sure. Okay, so the thing about Olaf is he does bring a lot of early pressure with his axes at level 1 and stuff.
Agreed. No, far better at actually jungling early.
No, you can't use your DOQ boosting strategies in the LJL. You can't do that. You can't play Yi Lulu.
What do you mean? I don't understand. Okay, but it does seem like I think the players are on the stage. We have got everything mirrored up, so it looks like we're about to go in. Okay, once we have actually got into that champ select, I will hand it fully over to you, gentlemen.
No, we don't see you go.
I kind of do. I'm done with it.
But I mean, I won't want to disappear. It seems like we've just got into champ select, so good luck, have fun, and good luck with the cast, sirs.
Thank you very much. So, yes! The first ban is Soraka, taking away the hyper healer away from V3.
Absolutely, I would have been exceptionally disappointed in some ways if I'd seen Ebby have to be resort to Soraka duty. On the other hand, we have seen a lot of people talking about how Soraka is that new form of hyper carry where it's not about the damage, but it's about the hyper healing. Nobody dies, nobody can die. It's all about being an ambulance, but it's all off the table, and Syndra being the second ban here.
Okay, so I was wondering which Seros bans we were going to get. When you play against Seros, it is not about if you're going to ban out his champions, it's which ones are you going to ban out. His Syndra turned up twice in the finals, was really good. He's really good at these control mages. The Elise is the response ban from DFM.
Yeah, again, I did mention it earlier, Boogie coming in from the LMS. He was a very good Elise player. It's not surprising to see that champion with all its top lane dive potential go out, along with now the new going in the top lane.
Yeah, so the boss, he punches people really hard. That's effectively what he does as a champion. He's been used as both a top laner and a mid laner. And when we look at professional League of Legends, if something can be played professionally in more than one role, it jumps up in value massively because you can play this kind of back and forth chess game with where this pick's going to go.
And a ban towards Ace, he is a very good LeBlanc player, and they're just taking that off the table.
Yeah, for sure. So Ace has been playing LeBlanc for a while. LeBlanc is a very strong blind pick mid laner right now. So as we are talking about with these flex picks, a lot of the time you want to back that up with a strong blind pick as well. And another one of those is Akali.
Yeah, of course, Akali has, I'm sure we all know, and we'll go with Love. That's a bit of a difficult one.
But thumbs up from you to Pon as Aphelios locked in the very first game in the LJL.
And surprise, surprise, MF is the hover. She's another one of those AD carries that's massively high priority right now. That bullet time causing so much trouble across pretty much every major region.
Yeah, MF has definitely been very popular in LCK as well, basically the world over, like you were saying. Aphelios, though, is basically this champion which can do it all. He has sustain, he's got burst, he's got range, teamfight scaling. He does so much as a champion, so I'm really going to be looking forward to see how one of the best ADCs in this region in Youthapon can handle this champion.
And they're looking like there's been a Nami hover here. Now, we have heard rumours, whispers that mage supports are actually quite strong, despite having seen a lot of things like Leona. And that'll be enough talking about mage supports, because screw that, it's the Lady of Sun instead. Leona mixed up with MF, a really old-school duo.
Yeah, so this is the absolute kill combo where you single someone out with Leona's massive amount of CC, and they have to sit in the entire duration of Misfortune's bullet time, her ultimate ability. And that person takes
do it.
A whole lot of damage. There's the Heimerdinger hover, which is a Seros special. It was nerfed over the preseason, but it's locked in anyway.
Oh, first game of the season, we've already got Seros on Heimerdinger. Explain to me why Seros is so good at this pick.
So, Heimerdinger is a champion where if you play around his early turrets and his early laning, he can stay in lane pretty much for forever. He doesn't get poked out very easily. He pushes lane with very little mana compared to a lot of other different picks. It's the Jarvan locked in alongside it as what we assume is the mid-jungle duo, because no one else has the balls to play Heimerdinger.
I mean, this is that question, right? That, Jarvan Cataclysm with turrets all around. There's no escaping them at that point. But the response here looking like possibly a Diana, which is some good stuff.
Oh, is everything okay there, Lexi? Are you okay there?
Okay,
right.
even
Sorry,
better.
I thought we just had a bit of a production issue there. Okay, so the last pick in the first round of picks is Diana, coming in for Ace. So Diana was another champion that was reworked in the off-season, is now a really bursty assassin even before level 6, coming in with the Ignite right now on that Summoner spell hovered, but we'll see if that changes as we go further through, because Diana does like to run that TP and be a bit more of that side lane menace.
Indeed, she does, and she is one of those picks that over the preseason was causing a lot of trouble. Had her R and her E swapped, meant she could dash around a lot more, and has been rising in priority over the last few weeks.
And more importantly, we have both Leona and Diana on the same team. From the game in terms of the lore, they're both meant to be, like these scorned ex-best friends / whatever, and we've got them on the same team. Maybe they're trying to go for the narrative storyline.
That's what this is. I'm not sure
Yeah.
how Misfortune fits into it, but I'm fine with it. Yasuo and Thresh ban. Thresh, of course, we have mentioned that Gatting is a ridiculously good Thresh, so it's nice to see that banned away. Yasuo, on the other hand, perhaps a touch more unexpected.
So you know why this is, right? It's because Ebby will always play Gnar given the chance.
Of course it is. Yeah, Yasuo being that old school Gnar counter. Get rid of it. I'm sure Paz has the wherewithal to play that champion. And we'll see what else comes in. They're kind of debating the last ban here, and it's Mordekaiser, which makes a lot of sense, is a terror in the top lane.
Yeah, Mordekaiser is really good at bringing it. So if you have a team composition which is based around just one pick doing really well in your team fight, Mordekaiser dismantles that team composition with his ultimate. For those of you that don't know, because Mordekaiser's only been played for like the last half year, Mordekaiser's ult, you point and click it on an enemy person, and they have to fight you in the death realm for a good 10 seconds odd, and that is completely separate from the actual game layer. It's a straight 1v1, no holds barred, in hell, pretty much in the death realm. And we see the Ornn come through as the last ban, though.
Yeah, and of course, Ornn, again, is another one of those really strong top laners. He's kind of the premier tank, a lot of engage, brings all those newly minted ornaments to your team to allow for some upgraded items. I'm always a fan of things like Rabadon's Death Crown and Molten Edge, such cool names. And Cassiopeia.
I'm not gonna lie,
I
I have forgotten all of the Ornn items, but that's good because he's banned. Okay,
it's my job, it's fine,
yeah.
I remember their names.
So upon seeing the Cassiopeia, what that means is that we're either going to see Diana jungle, which I think is not great, or we're going to see Diana top, Cassiopeia top, which is going to be a bit spicy. Definitely love leaning quite heavily on the double AP solo laners there. Gangplank being hovered from DFM, I would like this as a response. It is locked in.
And we're looking at a potential Galio pick here as the support. It is locked in.
All right. I mean, unless it's like the outside, like Heimerdinger support, right? But yeah, so we're seeing the Galio.
That would be horrific. Imagine that poke.
But what we see now is we see one of the better combos for Galio ever since his rework, however many years ago now, in the Jarvan and Galio. Jarvan likes to he traps people inside the Cataclysm. If people don't have flash, Galio then layers down his ultimate, the hero's entrance, which means he does this great skydive on top of him, knocks everyone up, great amount of CC, great amount of damage.
It is Diana jungle. We're looking at a Cassio mid, Aatrox top, and that will be the Diana jungle.
That is really strange. I am not sure I like that, given the changes to jungle in the preseason, but I'm very happy to be proved wrong here. We definitely, I mean, Diana does have a lot of that burst, and with the Runic Echo's jungle item on that first item completion does have a lot of burst, brings a lot of CC from the jungle too with her ultimate too, but it is a very ultimate dependent champion at that point, and junglers don't reach level 6 very easily, actually, in this current meta.
That's true. It's also going to be a thing, right, that on a really meta level, if anybody could do this, it's going to be Boogie. He's got a lot to prove. He's coming in as this sort of ex-major region star jungler. I'm really looking forward to see what he can do with the champion.
Absolutely. The coaches shake hands, and looks like we're going to be ready to head into game.
All right, so run me down these different team comps. Who do you think came out better in the draft, and how are we going to expect the first 10, 20 minutes to play out, and where you're sort of seeing the arc of this game?
Okay, so for me, I think that DFM really want to just leave Gangplank alone against this Aatrox. Just make sure that the junglers are elsewhere on the map. You want just GP to sit there, get a couple of items, just play safe, clear out some waves, and pretty much Heimerdinger is going to be pushing in mid lane permanently. So what this means is that we're going to be looking for Jarvan to get up in Diana's face and scout her out, maybe not fight her, and then see if we can get any of this setup CC from the bot lane or the mid lane for Steel to get a good gank off in the early game.
Looking forward to that. I'm kind of excited to see the absolute wombo combo from DFM. You're going to see Steel throw down a Cataclysm, Ebby throw a Cannon Barrage on top, incoming Galio hero entrance with an Aphelios Moonlight Vigil. That is a lot of area effect. We'll go with Evisceration. There's not many other terms with that amount of area effect ultimates.
Wow, yes. Oh, look at these clean graphics.
That's really nice.
Maybe we could get ourselves some of those.
Well, once we're a little bit more famous, maybe.
Maybe. Game on indeed. So, we're on the Rift. Fantastic. First time this year for us in the LJL. And you know, we talked a lot about DFM just loading into game there. Don't want to leave V3 out of the party. They also have some pretty ridiculous damage coming out. If there is a Leona ultimate into the Diana ultimate with a bullet time layered on top of it, Aatrox coming in with those massive AoE cleaves from his Q as well. We could see a lot of damage coming out of E3. This should be a really fun game to watch, particularly in terms of the team fights.
I think that means we're going to have to start keeping our eye on what happens around those early Drakes, and once those level 6s come in, we could get some absolutely explosive team fights. And I'm very excited to cast them.
Yeah, and also, you know, for us, it's our first time seeing these teams on this patch with all the preseason changes, right? So big things which have changed. Turret plates are less gold now. They used to be 150 gold per little increment of HP that you take off a turret. Now it's 120 gold. It's the first time that we see the new... Wait, that's really cute. So Siros just blast planted his turret over the wall to help steal the leash.
Shows some mastery on a champion. I really like that. All you Heimerdinger players or nascent Heimerdinger players who are about to start having seen that cool little mechanic, save it, steal it. I'm expecting it all my solo queue games.
I mean, you can just put the turret over the wall. That's another way to do that.
But it also, you know, it keeps the blast plant down, stops some weird invades. Not that I expect Diana to be invading at level 2, but you never know.
Well, Diana has really good level 3 fighting.
That's very true.
Yeah, I think both these junglers have the ability to fight at level 2, level 3, depending on which skills they level up. It looks like Diana's taking the W second, that little shield, the pale Cascade, I believe it is, something like that.
I believe that's the one. Pale Cascade is indeed her shield.
And we see the runes coming in here as well. I think the only interesting thing for me is that there were two interesting things. We see Conqueror coming out of Diana. It's definitely been the go-to for that champion ever since the little rework over the off season means that you can dive in and get a little bit more of those sustained damage procs and stuff like that. And on the other side, we see Aphelios running Conqueror 2. We see a couple of different runes on this guy, but normally it comes into like the press the attack. We've seen a couple of lethal tempos, but today we're going to see the Conqueror.
We'll see how that plays out. I'm also aware that Aphelios has probably sensibly run a cleanse versus quite a lot of hard CC between a Leona and the Petrifying Gaze from the Cassiopeia. Yep. Should hopefully keep him alive and free firing. And we're seeing, if not necessarily a CS lead, well, there is a little bit of one in the bot lane and in the top lane, at least DFM are heavily pressured up, and that means we're going to see Steel go in for this early invade, but Boogie appears to already be out, already have cleared out his Krugs, and Steel's just going to miss out on that. Raptors, on the other hand, are still up, but Boogie probably wisely backs away.
Yeah, so Siros, with that early shove, which you're afforded by a Heimerdinger, does get a ward onto the Raptors, and that's going to mean that Steel can steal them away, much to his namesake as well. Just, you know, take away a little bit of that early gold and XP away from that Diana. As we said, really likes to get ahead in that gold, get to level 6 to be this team fighter jungler, in much in the same way that Jarvan does with his Cataclysm as well, except just a different flavor of it. Looks like Boogie's just going down towards the Scuttle instead, though. Does actually have a pretty decent jungle clear with her cleave passive on her, on her passive.
I'm going to say that because Reyna's found himself a nice little flank hit. Gang, on the other hand, throws a Justice Punch out and stops that engage. Flash burn from Utapon, though.
Oh, that was really nice from Gang, actually. He interrupts the Zenith Blade with the Justice Punch from Galio, his E, his little dash back into knock-up as well. Boogie comes down, doesn't find anything, but luckily doesn't waste too much time on that gank.
Indeed, but we're looking at Reina coming along the side, knows that Utapon doesn't have that flash, and he's really threatening in these bushes. It's going to be a nice push away from the wave at this point.
Yeah, this reminds me of that old Aframu support clip. Support is so easy, you just zone them. You walk up, you zone them with the Ileona. and Utapon already burning that flash on the earlier engage, which was very good of him. I think he had to burn that flash there, really. Although, actually, it did come through that the Xenoblade was interrupted. But, you like to see a little bit of that reserve play in the earlier couple of games in the season. You don't want to make people you don't want to see people making these.
Ooh, looking at a flash in from Gang, and Steel's coming in as well. Does have the flag and drag, pulls through. We're seeing a TP coming in, I expect, from Paz here. No, it is actually Ace, and that's going to be the end of that. But TP burned now for V3. Boogie's in the bush as well, so we'll see if something comes around from that.
Boogie's indeed in the bush. So, we see a flash burn from Steel, flash burn from Gang as well. That's a lot of their engaged flashes gone. So, maybe this means that the early game is going to be a little bit quieter from DFM now because they don't have so many proactive plays they can make.
Yep, but on the other hand, it does mean that Archer's traded his flash out as well, and MF, much like the Aphelios, doesn't have a lot of ways to get out, aside from a speed up in her.
Oh, they've overstayed.
At the very least, you're right, because Reyna's come in on the Zenith Blade, but Steel is still here, but it's a flash out from Reyna, and that means that both bot laners have lost pretty much every summon. It's just an Ignite to Reyna's name.
Yeah, that's a greedy recall from the bot lane of V3. They're punished for it accordingly. That's a heal and a flash down just when they burned a couple of summoners in the bot lane themselves. It's a bit sad to see that happen. But, that's just the way the cookie crumbles in this game so far.
And it is. Archer is going to stay around, not back straight away, just to make sure this wave doesn't die to turret, but it's not necessarily what they want. It's not going to be the recall they want. And that was a nice return play there from DFM.
Yeah, and while we were saying this, we were talking about what we wanted to see happen in the early game. I was talking about how we kind of want it, on the side of DF, you want to see this Gangplank just be isolated in this 1v1. It's an okay lane matchup for Gangplank. Maybe a bit later if he's set behind, it's a bit dangerous. But in an isolated 1v1, we've seen that Ebby has managed to accrue a 25 CS lead so far. At six and a half minutes. That's really quite something.
It is indeed, and we have spoken about Paz in quite glowing terms, but this is a couple times now that Paz has really struggled into the matchup with Ebby. There we go, that's the phrasing I'm looking for. And that's something to keep an eye on. Once again, Evie on this Gangplank versus Paz has found himself a really serious lead in lane. We'll see what Paz can do with it. The last few times when he's got set behind, looked a little aimless.
Yeah, I think so. We were talking about this in our podcast, selfless promotion here. I was talking about how I think that Paz, we were all talking about it. If Paz doesn't get these early game leads where he gets to play up very far, get these CS leads, and a 1v1 advantage in the side lane, he sometimes doesn't know how to apply himself on the wider map. He can stay in lane pretty okay. As we see a blue buff steal come through, just as Diana goes for DFM's blue buff as well. So it's a trade, a shaking of hands. Maybe we'll see a bit of vertical jungling, trying to just not let that Gangplank have that free reign which he's had so far, although it might be too little too late. He's got to that Sheen already, which means he's pretty strong.
We'll see how far off from level 6 Boogie is. There is the potential for a dive with Paz and Evie, but it's always a risk diving a Gangplank when he's got his ultimate, when he's got his oranges available. But maybe that's what they're looking for. But Boogie's backing away.
And maybe we should start taking fashion advice from Cyril. So hear me out here. He just has a really good taste in rings.
He does. That is a lot. We've heard of 2 chains. This is 3 rings.
This is 4 rings with a dark seal.
That's fair.
He's really just blinging out here. He's got 2 rings for each hand. All of them giving different amounts of mana and a little bit of HP as well from the Doran's rings as well. Really strong laning build from this Heimerdinger, which means that, like we were saying, particularly with the blue buff, this guy never has to leave lane.
Do you reckon that... Hang on, as I said, we're going to meme some stuff, but never mind, because there's a bit of an engage in the bot lane, and Gang goes back in with a Justice Punch and gets a great turnaround there. And with the ultimate from Evie, the slow is enough for Aphelios to pick up first blood. Clean stuff from DFM.
Chuck out the chakrams, Utapon. He just slices through Reyna with the help of the GP ult there. Fantastic play from the bot lane. Reyna just getting caught out just a little too far.
And indeed he does, and in the top lane, despite the fact that Gangplank blew ultimate, Paz goes in to try and cause some trouble and ends up taking the worst end of that trade. Steel now going for the first Mountain Drake. Boogie's around, but I imagine this is a free Drake for DFM as well.
Yeah, so this is only just the Mountain Drake. As Going is just getting up in Boogie's face, actually a higher level than Boogie as a support to the jungler.
Oh, jungle XPY!
So there's an interesting conversation about whether junglers are, well, a little bit hard done by in the current meta. And I think when you've got like a higher level support than a jungler, I think it's fair. It's a fair point. Galio, a very strong champion when he's ahead in levels as well, even from the support role. Being able to just dive across the map with his semi-global ultimate, which is really impactful actually in this game because you have champions like the Gangplank and the Heimerdinger, which can buy so much time when people dive onto them. Going back into this replay of this kill earlier, so Utapon had no flash but had kept the cleanse and is able to immediately turn around the damage. Had the chakram and the little pistol combo.
Severum, always a powerful choice.
Yeah, always a very powerful choice, and it means that you can stack up his chakrams, these mini chakrams flying around him. I'm sorry, it's really hard to tell what Aphelios does, but that's a really big combo. His Severum and Crescendum combo means that he does get a lot of extra auto attack damage when he's got all of that stuff stacked
And here we go again, Gang finding another little taunt, making Reyna feel a bit miserable. Still not got the flash. It's a few seconds up, and it means he's going to get pinged here. But Boogie's across the wall, flashes in on Utapon, but incoming bullet time,
so close.
and it's done by Archer. But here comes Seros, and the fight's on. Archer's so low, he's going to get turned around, and Gang picks that one, and the taunt is there for some more damage on Reyna. It's a 1-for-1, but clean stuff there from V3 as well. Good teleport in to turn things around though from Seros there at the end.
Okay, yeah, so what we saw there was Archer had a great pick-off onto Utapon with the ult and the E combo there. Did manage to get cancelled at the end of that with Gang, and Seros with a great TP in just to punish that little aggressive play by Archer. In the end, it is a pretty good trade for DFM because they did manage to keep a lot of lane priority at the same time. And while all this is happening, we were talking about the CS lead in the top lane beforehand. Gangplank has now extended that 25 CS lead to a 30 plus CS lead in the top lane, and also, you know, we're actually seeing a bit of a difference in the jungle as well, actually, just as Steel managing to get a couple of extra camps under his belt.
And it's not just camps, he's managed to pick up the Rift Herald and the first Drake, so that's some good stuff there. On the other hand, Boogie's got involved, he's caused some damage, he's stopped the snowball going on in the bot lane, he got Archer a kill. It's at least something for V3, right? And for this bot lane that is a new bot lane versus this kind of incredibly tenured, incredibly successful one from DFM. It's good stuff to see them performing well, right? And at least being willing to start up some fights and get involved and not just back down.
Yeah, and while all this is happening, you know, we see some plates falling, you know, so DFM, they've managed to keep their turrets very, very healthy right now. But, you know, we've seen already about 5 plates go down for the side of V3 losing a couple of plates as well.
And more than that, we got this gold per player up. We're looking at nearly 1,000 gold lead up for Gangplank. We're looking at 500 for both the mid laner and the bot laner for DFM. And that's going to be serious trouble, as I think we're about to see an engage down in this bot lane. And look at that, there comes the Moonlight Vigil, and the Cannon Barrage is down as well, and that's a lot of damage down. I was right, that was an engage, but on the other hand, V3 managed to get out. It's a flash burn from the support of V3 again, though, and Reyna gonna lose that out. DFM roaming down there, we're looking at Steel and Seros hitting into this this blue side. Boogie and Ace coming in now to potentially contest. We'll see how this turns out. It's gonna be some blue buff shenanigans is what we'll call this. But everybody is here. Boogie's gone in. That's a nice little make it rain. But that is not a fantastic blue buff. But somehow, someway, Paz has teleported in. And we're going to see a bit more of a fight. Boogie's taking a half health, but Gang solo is going down. Seros now on the run from this exceptionally fast Aatrox running the world under. The grenade comes in for the stun. He has to flash away at the end here. It is a 1-for-0 for V3. Teleport burn for Paz, but probably worthwhile for them.
Yeah, so we're seeing, again, more gold go over to Gangplank on this side of the map. They're good trades on this side of the map, don't get me wrong, but every time you do this, the ticking time bomb with the scaling top laner and Gangplank is slowly getting closer to doomsday.
And we're looking at about a 2.5, nearly 3k gold lead now for DFM, and that's going to cause some serious issues. We were talking about that scaling. That is now, what, a 40-ish CS lead in that top lane? That's pretty huge. It's a 20 CS lead in the mid lane. It's about a 5 in the bot lane, which is not as bad as it could be, but V3 need to be careful not to bleed out too much in these lanes.
And we also need to be careful not to cast into the future. We've been told we were a little bit ahead of the broadcast that our producer is watching, Lexi, so I think we've managed to get that sorted now. Just be aware that we are trying to sort that. Herald summoned in the bot lane, which will take out the last of these plates here. A lot of gold funneled onto Utapon, who is already very ahead on this Aphelios. He's got about a 15 CS lead, gets all 5 plates in the bot lane over the course of this laning phase, and he's really set up to have these next fights be so strong for himself.
I've been meaning to ask, do you reckon Seros is a Lord of the Rings fan? Like, we've been talking about the rings he's got, but he's got the Dark Seal. It's the one ring to bind them all in the darkness right there. How much trouble do you think that's going to be? As again, we're just a touch out of sync, so we'll try and fix this. As we're seeing V3 come up top and switch around, it does make talking about things that are not league related a little bit tricky, because we don't quite know what's going on sometimes.
Most things
Time travel issues, always a difficulty.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, there's plenty of interesting things to talk at the meta and the team comps and stuff like that. As we see, I mean, on our screen, Steel is taking the dragon, but who knows what's happening on the actual screen that you guys are watching as well. We're just going to keep pausing and see if we can fall behind back to your guys' timestamp as well. As we see Reyna just heading into this top side, trying to secure a little bit of vision, as Boogies are also on this side of the map.
And Cloud Drake is taken for DFM there, and that's going to mean the Ocean Rift coming up, and that means Ocean Soul available. Probably, arguably, the most powerful soul available in the game as of this patch.
Yeah, Ocean Drake, particularly in this current meta where... So one of the big things, one of the big differences between this season and the last is that games tend to go longer. Team fights also tend to be longer. There are more tanks in the game. There are less catastrophic game-ending fights, which means that if team fights are going longer, regen is much more valuable. It's one of the reasons we see a lot of Sona, a lot of Soraka being picked in very odd roles across the map. And Ocean Soul buys into this as well, right? So if you manage to get the Ocean Soul, you get to regen over the course of the fight. It's one of the passives of that soul. And it means that you just have so much more HP to play around.
All right, and as we crest the 15-minute marks, we're going to see an engage in the mid lane. So never mind that. Gang once again caught out, but has kept Utapon safe. That's a Moonlight visual down with the Graviton, but Paz has found his way onto Utapon, who flashes away. But that's another clean kill from V3, taken in the mid lane. It's 2-0 now for this Cassiopeia.
Yeah, and it's not the first time we've seen Gang caught out this game. It's his second death there. Utapon getting away at the cost of his flash, like you're saying, and it goes over to their scaling option, Cassiopeia in the mid lane. And while he has been held down by Siros's Heimerdinger in the mid lane, you know, this guy will be doing serious damage if he manages to get 2-3 items, as we've seen a couple of Cassiopeias do across the world in this patch.
Yeah, Gang may have died, but he did at least Justice Punch to save his AD carry's life. But once again, good work from V3, right? Finding picks, finding at least ways to keep themselves relevant in this game. As some pretty serious item breakpoints starting to come through for people. That's a Trinity Force completed to just a Phage in the top lane as the one that's really catching my eye.
Yeah, it kind of sucks if you're Paz right now, because you don't really want to walk up to the GP. You have to all-in him if you're going to fight him, because he does have that ultimate to slow your retreat, stuff like that, which means that if you lose the stat check, you lose your life as well.
And it's all well and good that V3 are picking up these kills, but they've not really picked up any objectives. They're down a Herald, they've been down 2 Drakes, and there's just not a lot of pressure on these towers in a way that DFM have managed to find pressure in these side lanes. Have got those 2 side lane towers down, and that's what's causing this about 4k gold lead available, as DFM also start the second Herald. Boogie is in the jungle though, and is potentially around to contest. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah, so the thing about Heimerdinger is that he also takes objectives really quickly and really safely, because he does a lot of consistent damage with his turrets if a target is sat in the middle of them, and as a poor Dragon or Baron or Herald, they don't really move around that much, so you do get a lot of damage out of them. We don't see the cancel as the Leona ult comes down just a tad late to stop Shelly being summoned.
We'll see how this goes. And that's looking like probably a fairly clean charge. And mid lane tower is broken. That's the entire outer ring down for DFM now. Nice Rift Herald capture into a nice mid lane take. Leona ultimate not quite quick enough with the changes over preseason to stop that summon.
Yeah, so now we'll see what happens when you have a arguably scaling composition with a 4k lead at 18 minutes, pushing all 3 lanes because no one can stop them. Like, that's going to be a fun experience for all of us, I think.
I think it will be. I don't know quite where we're at now in terms of the game state. I'm imagining DFM at this point are going to look towards setting up for inner tower pushes. We're going to see them start to think about this Ocean Drake coming up and setting up for potential soul capture in maybe 6 or 7 minutes, depending on how swiftly they take the Ocean Drake. But for V3, what options back into the game do they have?
They have Paz teleporting onto the backline, so while we have talked about how much damage Syros, Ebby, and Utapon will do, that doesn't necessarily mean they have all the tools in the box to defend themselves, right? Obviously, in these team fights, you can have Galio coming in to peel them, but if you manage to have Aatrox diving on top of them, getting loads of different ultimates, bullet times going in across them, they'd still die they are as mortal as any other character in the game.
It is very true, and there are a number of squishy people on the side of DFM. Gang has some tankiness. Seros has gone for the Cinder Hulk, but that Heimerdinger, that Aphelios, even that Gangplank to an extent, don't really want to tank a bullet time. That's for very certain. We're looking at Boogie and Ace hanging in this bush. Reyna's in there too, and Steel is going to be grounded. Has got the flag and drag now. And that's the end of that. I thought with the Miasma down, we might see a harder engage. We might see a flash from Reyna, but that's it. Paz on the side here, V3 on the side here. They found an engage on the Steel, who's still tanky, but burns the stopwatch. And that now means that Reyna takes a massive taunt. And look at that combo we were talking about. But Paz takes out Steel. It's a great Archer ultimate, but Boogie goes down. And Seros does so much damage with those turrets. Oh my days.
Oh, and there was a lot of CC happening in a very short amount of time there. Ends up as a 1 for 3 for V3, unfortunately. Steel kind of hops over the wall with his flag and drag, so Reyna thinks that he has that opening to try and punish, and it looks like DFM are going towards the Baron after this.
See, there's Gang's just as punched in on Paz, is half health, but has got that started. Ace now throws down the Miasma, stops the engage further forward, but there is no smite available currently. Steel's further away. Looks like DFM are going to pack off. It was probably going to be a bait anyway at this time in the game.
Yeah, so what we saw in that last fight, and I really hope we get to see a replay, is that there was just... And
Here we go.
Okay, so we see here, Steel uses his combo for not much gain in this early part of the fight. He gets engaged on immediately, stopwatch resets the fight, and at this point, DFM have managed to set up all of their different points of damage. You have turrets coming down from Aphelios, from his Crescendum, turrets coming down from Syros, and while there is some good turnaround potential from Boogie and from the bullet time, it just doesn't happen at the same time, so therefore they do get picked off before it really means anything.
Yes, and that's going to be a bit unfortunate. It means that DFM pick up a nice team fight win. It means they've still got this pressure. It means that the Ocean Drake is live, and I think we're about to see round 2.
I think we are too, because once you allow Heimerdinger into an area to set up his turrets, it's very hard to displace him, particularly when he is 2-0-2, as Syros is right now, has a full item, and we see the Aphelios ult go wide.
It does indeed, and that means that ultimate is now not available, but of course there is still the turret bros. Crescendum is still available for Utapon. Seros' Heimerdinger is going to pick up quite a lot, and Seros is still going in. That's the cannon barrage down. That's a Justice Punch. Rather, a Hero's Entrance still in, and V3 are falling apart. It is so much wombo combo. We called it earlier. Paz now running for the hills, but it's not enough because the Gravitum is there for the slows and the roots, and he is taken out by Ebby at the end of it. 3-0-6 on this Gangplank.
Sorry, what? Even with 2 stopwatches, no one can live through that amount of damage. Fantastic engage, finally found by Steel. This time it'll definitely net them the Baron. Who cares about the dragon? But it looks like Ebby's going for that as well.
You can have your cake and eat it and smash it in the face of V3. We saw Flag and Drag into Cataclysm, into Cannon Barrage, into Hero's Entrance, into turrets galore. So much wombo combo, and I am so happy we saw that fight.
Oh, such a good fight. And you know what they did as well? They waited and until Steel respawned to get Baron buff onto all 5 members of DFM. At this point in the game, I have to wonder now, with a 7.5k gold lead, this game is pretty much over.
Go
This is
again.
a
Look at
4-man
this.
cataclysm into the grenade coming in from Heimerdinger, a Hero's Entrance, a Cannon Barrage, a barrel on top of that. Aphelios just kind of wrecking Paz on the side here with his chakrams as well. Roots him up here at the end of it just to add insult to injury. And at this point, I have to wonder what can V3 even do against this kind of wombo.
That's just it. We've got 2 wombo teams versus one another, but there is so much easier engage on the side of DFM. It's a lot less committal because Jarvan can get back out. And as point is, once you've scaled this way, it means that every fight, right, there is this scaling advantage for one of the wombo combo sides.
Yeah, exactly. When you go wombo versus wombo, it's kind of like the, if you're going to take a swing for the king, you best make sure you don't miss. Because if you muck up your engage like we saw in the fight before this one, the one where V3 did try and have that turnaround and it just didn't quite work off, you use a lot of your cooldowns you need to fight the next fight. You go into that fight at a disadvantage, and then you lose that fight even worse.
And it has meant that we are seeing a fairly strong 9k gold lead. This bot lane tower going very low, but Reyna's gone in. There's the miasma down, but that's about it. And Seros throws so much damage that Boogie has to flash. That's an empowered rocket barrage there. Steel's going in for the flash cataclysm, and that's a moonlight village in, and that's so much damage. Leona's down, Cassiopea's down, and the cannon barrage is down, and that means that this inhibitor is also down.
I think
they're going to go to end. It's 5v3. Can Paz do anything on the side? Archer's there, but he's taking so much damage. How does he even walk up versus this amount of turrets? He's being zoned off, and Paz is getting bounced around too. Boogie's got in his mind to pick up one, but it's not enough. He's taken out 2. Ebby's up now, keeping people on the damn fountain, and the last Nexus turret is going down, and this is going to be game 1 over to DFM. Clean stuff.
And what happened to short games? This game has ended in 24 minutes and 35 seconds. I mean, at this point, I think we should bring back Lexi to talk about this game. What the heck happened?
Gentlemen, what? What a game! My god, I'm in shock and awe. I was on the edge of my seat for most of that. DFM with an incredible performance in that first game. 24 minutes, that's gotta be up there in some of the fastest games currently from a major region. Coming from the LJL, first game back, DFM. What a statement.
Yeah.
I remember rating these guys top of my power rankings for a reason. That was a beautiful team combination with like a lot of area denial and control between a Heimerdinger and a Aphelios and a Gangplank, and just some horrific wombo combo. You throw a Cataclysm down, you throw a Hero's Entrance on it, and all that area effect damage just, comes together in this like massive melting pot of destruction.
I want to talk about that last major team fight that DFM had.
Yeah, the huge one.
I have to talk about this before we go on break very quickly, so we can get on to our next game. But my god, J4 into the Galio ult, into a Gangplank barrel, into the Gangplank ult, into a Heimerdinger ult, into like a grenade as well. Like it was everything all at once. Aphelios also ulted, I'm pretty sure.
You know what? I think in that fight they didn't even need it. That's the insult to injury. I don't think they actually needed it.
It was,
because things are like, we saw it in the base, Aphelios firing out the Inferno ult onto like 2 people. Imagine if that goes down onto 4 people like it did in the mid lane there. Actually, how many times do you even see a 4-man Jarvan ultimate nowadays? Because none of them had flashes. Having that presence of mind to know, okay, they're all grouped up, they don't have flashes. This is a freebie. He gives up his life in that fight, but they just clean up shop.
And I think it's also something to say for like Jarvan being such a smart pick into the 2 major carries there from V3. Cassiopeia, notoriously immobile. Misfortune, notoriously immobile. You keep them in a Cataclysm, and it doesn't matter how fast you can strut MF, you're still going to be trapped in a cage. And that just meant she was stuck there taking so much damage, it probably killed 3 Misfortunes.
Well, I mean, during that time, you also had the Diana and the Cassiopeia in their stopwatch. Like they got immobilized, and then I think one of them came out, and then Galio ult just came in, and it's just it just doesn't end. It just doesn't end. But wow, what an amazing game to go in for that first game. We will be right back after a short break. Thank you so much for watching so far. We will be right back. This has been the LJL officially unofficial cast, and we'll see you very soon.